Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We appreciate you joining us today. Well, by viewer request, there's been some observations made that a lot of the pistols that we review have been on the higher price point end, and there's been a request for us to review a pistol that is a lower price point, something that's very affordable but still trustworthy for concealed carry. And with that in mind, I present to you a pistol that is not only affordable, but it is capable. Now I'm going to tell you all about it in just a second. Okay, once again, welcome back everybody. And before we get too far into this, we want to take the opportunity, we want to thank our subscribers and everybody who's watching us. And and if you've been watching the channel and you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please feel free to do so. If you look down in the lower right hand part of your screen here, if you're on a computer, there's a little subscribe button you can hit. If you're on a mobile device, you can scroll down and subscribe that way. It helps us a lot and we appreciate it. So what do we have here? Well, I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with Taurus semi-autos. I've shot actually some Taurus revolvers back in the day, and I've looked at some of the new offerings from Taurus, and it seems like that they've been getting better as far as their appearance. There's been more interest in these weapons at the gun case, and some people have told me that a lot of that has to do with their price point, that they're buying them strictly because it's an affordable gun. So I decided to look into this a little bit further. And then, of course, as luck would have it, somebody asked about this particular gun, and so we've decided to go over that in detail today. Got a chance to go to the range. Of course, I will cover that here in a bit because the range results were something that'll interest you. And I managed to get this for you today, courtesy of our friends over at Don's Weaponry. You can reach them at www.donsweapons.com. Really good folks, and we appreciate their help. So the first thing I always like to do is do a little, obviously, size comparison. As far as pistols on hand, about the closest thing that I could find would be like a baby Glock. Because this is an unusual size. It's bigger than, say, your Glock 43s, that type of gun, but it's smaller than a Glock 19. So when you look at these together and look at the overall length and the thickness of the slide, and has a little bit longer grip, but as far as the overall size and kind of outline, I like to say, of the gun, they're pretty close. Obviously this has got a little bit more grip, but that's a good thing because this also has more capacity. We'll get into that, of course, but this is the closest thing on hand to kind of show you, size-wise what it's looking at. So what's the deal? What's the features? Well, interestingly enough, so what you got here, these are 12-round magazines. So you have a 12+1 capability, and I have to give them props because you get not one, not two, but 3 magazines with this pistol. Now, for some people that may not be a big deal, but when you're considering the total price of something and its value, well, magazines are expensive. If you've ever bought aftermarket magazines, you know that is a big deal. And the other thing is that this pistol will accept SIG 226 magazines as well. So if you have those, you've got extra magazines for your G3C. So interestingly enough, so 3 mags. There is a couple things I will mention that compare it to the G2s that came before this, just because they're relevant as far as quality of the gun. The slide serrations that you see here, of course, these are always handy, for ease of manipulating the slide. The finish, from what I understand, is much better on this pistol than the one that came before it. Apparently the old finish came off very easy. It was more of a Parkerized finish that didn't last very well. And the previous version also had plastic sights, and these are metal sights. You just got your notch rear sight and your white dot for the front. Now the good part here is that this pistol will accept Glock aftermarket sights. So it's actually cut to accept those sights. So if you've got a True Glow sight or something that you really like, which, you know, that's something that I do on my Glocks, is I usually change them to, you know, TFOs or something that I like a little better, you can do that. That's another value-added proposition for the pistol. And then this pistol also has a manual safety, which I don't require manual safety on my guns as long as they've got some other safety, but this one does have it. The trigger is interesting. It's a single action trigger, but it has restrike capability. So when you pull through, you can just keep on pulling through. Now, if you're new to shooting and new to pistols and you don't really get the significance of that, well, let's just take a Glock by comparison. You rack the slide. Well, when you fire, that's it, buddy. Until you recycle the slide and reset that trigger, nothing's happening. So that's kind of interesting that you have that capability on the gun. So it's a single action with a second strike capability. And then, of course, you've got some pretty aggressive texturing on the grip, which you can feel. And, of course, the magazine has got this little indentation, which helps a lot. Like I say, I have a big hand, and this gun actually fits pretty comfortably in my hand based on the way the grip and the magazine come together. In addition, this pistol also gives you an accessory rail. So if you want to put a little light on your weapon, then you've got that capability as well. So it's a pretty decent little feature set for a pistol at this price point. So speaking of price point, the MSRP on this guy from Taurus is $300, or $305, I think, to be exact. No matter how you slice it, that's pretty good compared to a lot of guns on the market. Because when you think about it, okay, this is a 12-round capacity pistol. They give you 3 magazines. It's got metal sights, pretty good grip texturing, and as we'll talk about with the range results in a minute, it's a pretty decent pistol. So for $300, I've been seeing the retail price somewhere in the neighborhood of, the actual prices ended up being about $275, $276 at the dealers. If you can find one, because obviously guns are in extremely high demand right now. And like I said, we just want to thank Don's for letting us get one so we can show you a brand new one, because they are hard to get right now. So if you're going to carry a gun like this, obviously any pistol, if you're going to shoot it, you need to be able to break it down to perform the basic maintenance. And of course this is going to be no different. So you're going to drop your magazine and then make sure the firearm is clear. That's basic firearm safety 101. So we know it's clear. It's not all that dissimilar from Glocks. You got your little pull down notches here in the front, so you pull the slide back a little bit and then you grab those notches, and then once you have the notches down, it slides right off the front just like that. And then of course you get to the inside here, you've got your spring and your rod, and then of course you got your barrel. And so when you get your pieces out, you can very quickly have this broke down for your basic maintenance. Now, with any gun like this, when you have it broke down, and this is me, like I say, there's no single way to perform maintenance on a pistol, but when you have it broke down, I always like to hit these places where the slide ride directly, on the pistol's frame. So I hit these points here, and I always put a drop of oil inside the mechanisms internally here. Not a lot. I don't like my guns just dripping with oil, but I like to get a little bit in there just to keep that covered. And of course, you want to clean your surfaces really well on the inside of the rail. There's lots of good products out there to do that. So when you're ready to reassemble the weapon, it's pretty simple, obviously. In reverse, you're going to take your barrel and you're going to put it right back in there. And then you're going to grab your spring and your rod, and you're going to put it back in place and make sure you line it up really good because it's a pretty tight fit. And push it down. Make sure you push it down to the second step there, not this top one. Make sure you push it all the way down there. Then you're going to grab the two halves, realign your slide, and when you're coming back, make sure to hold it straight because there's a little bit of play right here, and if you see how this can go to one side, if you push it to one side, the slide will bump up against that rail that it rides on. So make sure you hold it straight when you're coming back, and then you can pull it all the way back like that, and then you're back in business. Gun's reassembled and ready to go. That's simple. So that's your basic teardown and reassembly procedure. Not bad. Alright, so let's talk about performance. Let's talk about this pistol and the range. Well, some of the feedback I got from other individuals about Taurus in general, they didn't speak very highly. They weren't the highest quality pistols, and they said, well, it's a $300 gun, and that's what you get for $300. And I thought, well, obviously we're going to verify that on our own at the range, because the gun looked like it was built pretty well, and didn't see any obvious problems with it. And people who I've spoke to that have had the G2 series of pistols was pretty happy with those as well. So anyway, at the range, this is what I found out. Now, the trigger, the single action trigger, is a little longer than, say, a Glock. It's not bad, but it has more travel than I would have thought. And it's not a big deal. When you're shooting the gun, you don't really notice when you're shooting shots back to back. But it does have a little bit longer trigger pull than you would, say, on a Glock. The other thing that I noticed was point of aim. With these sights, normally with this sight position that you see right here, you would, for most pistol setups, you position your target, on top of the front sight. And there are some pistol configurations where, you would need the target positioned in the center of the front sight. And of course, that varies by what type of gun it is. By default, when shooting this pistol, I had my target sitting, on top of the front post of the front sight. And in doing that, my shots were just a little low consistently. At 21 feet, I was shooting about an inch or so low. I reconfigured my target picture with the target in the center of the front sight, and I was shooting pretty much dead on. 3/4 of an inch or so to either side, a little bit up or down of the target. So the variances at that point were just me with how well I was shooting the pistol. But the pistol did its job with me using the proper point of aim. Now, I don't know whether that's the way it's supposed to be with this pistol, or whether it's just me and my sights were a little off, and so me changing the point of aim got me dead on the money. But for me, centering the target directly behind the front sight is what got me a proper grouping out of the gun. So I brought several different types of ammo, 3 or 4 types of range ammo, everything from Winchester and Federal and S&B and several others. And this gun ate everything that I put in the gun. And it consistently, I brought several different types of defensive 9mm rounds. I brought Critical Duty. I brought Golden Saber. I brought Hydroshocks. I brought SIG V-Crown. And everything I put through the gun, it shot consistently. I experienced 0 failure to feed, no failures to eject, no issues at all shooting the gun. And I shot around 400 rounds through the pistol in total. So through all those rounds, through changing types of rounds, I didn't experience any problems. So for a pistol that's priced at, under $300, that's pretty good. I've paid a lot more money for pistols that did not give me the type of reliability that this particular pistol gave me at the range. Once again, for some reason, Taurus didn't necessarily have a good rep. I've heard different people refer to them as cheap guns, and there may be very well a lot of models out there that were bad or that weren't reliable. As I said, I'm not as familiar with the Taurus line, but for this particular gun, I can see why it's popular, because it's feature packed. It actually does shoot really well. You've got metal sights with the Glock sight upgrade capability. It'll take the SIG mags. I like the idea of the restrike capability on the trigger. I don't get a lot of problems with light strikes where your ammunition doesn't fire, but if you do have that, all you gotta do is pull the trigger again. And of course, if that doesn't work, you can clear the round out and continue firing. But that's pretty good. And I heard some comments about the gun not being all that accurate, but that was not my experience at the range. When I got this gun to the range, once I got my point of aim where it needed to be correctly, the gun operated well. So as much as some other people, I guess, wanted me to come up with something bad to say about this pistol, I can't. So far, it's performed extremely well with a lot of different kinds of ammo. It's pretty comfortable in the hand. The texturing, after you've shot a lot of rounds with it, you will start to feel, of course, because that aggressive texturing, you can feel that in your hand, but it was nothing serious. And another thing, while I was shooting it, I noticed is that if you look right here, if you notice they've taken the time in this design where they've kind of beveled the bottom of the grip here with the mag where they come together, so that if you need to strip the mag out, if you have a malfunction or something, you've got something to grab onto. And it seems like a little thing, but if you have to get the mag out in a hurry, that's pretty handy. So I thought that was interesting that Taurus had thought to do that, especially on a gun that was this low of a price point. So once again, I give them props for that. So if we talk about the overall impressions of the gun here, I've got to be honest. Whenever I picked up the gun and went to take to the range, there was a lot of people there that told me right off the bat, a lot of them laughed about it. Oh, Taurus, nice gun, ha, wink, wink, nod, nod, like it was supposed to be something bad. And I went in with this pistol the way I go in with any gun, expecting it to perform just as well as I can, because in most cases, as long as I'm doing my job, the gun works pretty well. And there's been some exceptions over the years of guns that weren't built as well, or guns that have had some problems. But as far as I've been able to see, the gun shoots very well. The gun seems to be made pretty well. The gun's very accurate. And of course, we've talked about some of the things that they give you or have done with the pistol. You know, for a $300 price point, you've got an accessory rail. You know, once again, you've got 3 magazines. You've got a manual safety, and for some people that's a big deal. You know, like I say, I don't have to have a manual safety on my pistols because that's not important to me, but for a lot of people it is. You've got that single action trigger with restrike capability, which I like a lot. The mag release is not in the way, but it's easy to get to. You've got good grip texturing. Once again, I love the fact that you can change out the stock sights with, you know, Glock sights, aftermarket sights. And, you know, after shooting lots of rounds, the gun shows itself to be very accurate and very reliable. So for those of you that have been wondering about an option for the money, I can honestly say that the Taurus G3C is not only a capable option, it's very, very affordable. And there's not a lot of guns I've seen that can do both. So that's going to do it, guys. And once again, we really appreciate you watching. If you watch us and had a chance to subscribe, like I say, take a minute to do that now. And we really appreciate it. We're going to be back very soon with another video. So until then, be safe, and we'll be back soon. Thanks a lot.